Hello and welcome! Today we will take a look at the first of a series of builds which aim at easily taking out Mohg, the Lord of Blood, in preparation for the DLC. This first build is based around the Executioner's Greataxe for stuns breaking bosses in seconds with high poise damage, and obliterating them with a riposte, thanks to the high crit damage modifier of the axe. We begin by choosing your hero class and whatever starting gift you want. I usually go for the Golden Seed for a quick additional Crimson Flask. I drop on this ledge behind the first step to pick up 2 Silver-pickled Foot. They will be useful later. After meeting Melina for Torrent and grabbing the Whetstone knife in the ruins, I ride up to the Stormhill Shack to get a Stonesword key. Grabbing the Strength Crystal tier on the way, I immediately go to the Summon Water ruins where I put the Stonesword key to use for the Green Turtle charm. I go down to the Third Church of Marika, politely acquiring the Sacred Blade Ash of War from the Scarab. Once again, we'll use that later. There, we can get the Wondrous Physick Flask and a Sacred tier. Then immediately go into Mistwoods for the Spiked Crystal tier, and the nearby ruins for Trina Lilies and the Axe Talisman. I finish with Fort Height for the first part of the Dectus Medallion. Going west to the Agile Lake shore, I get a Gold-pickled Foot using Diplomacy, then head south to Weeping Peninsula for a Stonesword key on the bridge and a Morning Star on a chariot. I quickly sweep through the peninsula for more sacred tiers, including the Church of Pilgrimage where we can obtain 2 blood greases in the cemetery. And it's time for a visit to Caelid. We can grab Flame Grant Me Strength as soon as we enter Caelid behind the Gale Fort. Then it's direction Dragon Barrow. Purchasing the Beast-repellent torch from the Dragon Barrow merchant allows us to enter Fort Pharos more safely, grabbing the second medallion half, a golden wool 12, and Radagon Soreseal without getting torn to pieces by the high level rats. We can now use the Morning Star combined with Blood Grease to bleed out Greyoll. Don't forget to consume the Gold-pickled Foot as she dies to get a massive amount of wounds. I use those to level up to 23 strength to meet the Greataxe requirements, and pump the rest into Vigor for now. Friendly reminder that every good build needs Vigor. Jumping up the Spirit Spring next to Fort Pharos gives us access to a bunch of high-level smithing stones and the final Stonesword key we need. I then head to the Redmane Castle Bridge to obtain the Cragblade Ash of War from another Scarab, and then buy the Finger Seal from the Round Table Merchant to cast Flame Grant Me Strength with. It's now time to obtain our actual weapon. And unfortunately, that's the painful part of the run. The mastermind, that is Miyazaki, decided to lock the Executioner's Greataxe behind a 4% drop rate from this specific giant skeleton wielding it. Now you see how those Silver-pickled Feet come into play. We can make farming easier by infusing the Morning Star with Sacred Blade to make it do holy damage on top of the strike damage from the mice itself, since skeletons are significantly weak to both damage types. Cast the Ash of War on the giant skeleton as it spawns, then 3 air rounds will finish him off before he gets to attack. Repeat as necessary until... Nice. For the last couple steps of the build, we get the Finger's Heirloom from the Purified Runes, and the Smithing Stone Bell-bearing one from the Raya Crystallia mines. Since we are close to the Dectus elevator, we make a quick detour to Altus, where we can go into the Lux ruins and bully the demi-human Queen Gillica for the Ritual Sword Talisman. We can then go to the Seal Tunnel nearby to pick up the Smithing Bell-bearing 2. Going deeper into the tunnel also gives us more smithing stones and another Gold-pickled Foot we can use later. For the final step, we return to the Chapel of Anticipation via the 4 belfries, where we can take revenge on the Grafted Scion, which allows us to obtain the Stormhawk Deenh Spirit Ash. I don't usually use spirit summons in my builds, but this majestic boy can shout a secret buff that will help us a lot on this journey. Margit is the first boss to test the build strength on. I drink the Physick Flask, buff with Flame Grants Me Strength and Cragblade, before switching off the Finger's Heirloom for the Ritual Sword Talisman. Now all is left is enter the fog and summon Stormhawk Deenh to receive his Warcry buff. The first CR2 lands beautifully, and although Margit dodges the second CR2 and hits me with a dagger, it doesn't matter because spamming R1 stuns breaks him anyways into a devastating riposte. Next up is Godric, and here again I stack up so much poise damage so quickly that it doesn't matter if I get hit by his Earthquake, because the next hit stuns breaks him. The subsequent riposte leaves him too low to fight back, before his execution. And the weapon is only +8, the build will only get stronger from there. Since Godric is defeated, we can now visit Roger in the Roundtable Hold to receive his weapon as reward, with the Glintstone Phalanx Ash of War. We can put it on a dagger and use it to significantly weaken boss's poise before even landing our first attack. Buying all the smithing stones we can allow us to upgrade the Greataxe to +13. For the second Shardbearer needed to enter Lendel, I chose to fight Renala. Since the Beast-repellent torch did not meet expectations this time, I have to play it rough. You asked for it, puppy, not me. A quick tip for Renala phase 1 is that you don't need to kill the Students to break their spell. Hitting them with anything does the trick. Here I use the Glintblade dagger to hit them faster than the Greataxe would. Once Renala comes down, I start beating her up, and soon enough, it's already time for phase 2. I sprint over to Renala and exploit her laser cast to summon Deenh in her face, and with my character fully powered up, it wasn't even a fight. I level up phase to 15 so I don't need to switch the Finger's Heirloom before every fight anymore, and receive the 3rd talisman slot from Enya for having felled 2 Shardbearers. We can now make our way to the Lendel capital. The problem of having a Spirit Ash alongside me arises against Draconic Tree Sentinel, with Deenh stunning him out of a stagger before I could regain stamina to hit, then even sniping the final blow. But it's okay, he's the best boy and I forgive him. Here's also my stats to help you keep track of level's progression. On the way to Golden Godfrey, I quickly kill the Air Tree avatar for a copious amount of runes, as well as the Lord's Rune for another 50,000, I decide to invest into more strengths. Despite being first Elden Lord, Golden Godfrey cannot handle axe-on-axe violence and goes down in an embarrassing amount of time. And I get the last talisman slot, and I know exactly what to put in it. I do a quick detour to Volcano Manor, beat up the noble on the first try without any form of resistance. I can now use my 2 Stonesword keys on the imp statue before Wildcard to unlock access to the Manor Wing, where I drop down to the Dagger Talisman. This will render our critical hits even stronger than before. While I'm in the Manor, I put Wildcard down with the Serpent Hunter and use my Gold-pickled Foot. Combined with the massive amount of runes he originally gives, plus the runes consumed from his Remembrance, this lets me level up my strengths through the roof. I use the assassination request from Volcano Manor to invade and kill All Knight Isfahan for some sick armor, which I cannot use yet. Maybe it's time to start leveling endurance. Even though the Greataxe is only +13, I feel confident enough in my strengths to take on the Dragon Barrow Putrid avatar for another load of wounds and the Stone Barb Crack tier. This crystal tier will make staggering bosses even more stupidly easy than it already was. Morgoth is the unlucky test subject of this new setup. With the Stone Barb effect on top of Cragblade and Deenh's Warcry, the Glintblades weaken him enough and a single rolling R1 breaks his stance already. I get a couple more R1s before riposting, and while Deenh takes both of us on a journey, a few more attacks during his phase 2 transition sets him up for another stagger, and the Omen King dies in under a minute. On the way to Fire Giant, I pick up the Smithing Bell Bearing 3 in the Zamor Ruins basement, make a stop at the Mountaintop's Merchant to mix some Vagabond armor pieces into my fashion, and grab 3 Smithing Stone 7 by the First Church of Marika, to upgrade the Greataxe from +13 to +19 in one go. I kill Okina for the annoyance of him existing, and treat his weapon with the respect he deserves. Climbing the giant skull next to Okina's church, we can get our hands on an ancient smithing stone for the +25 upgrade. Fire Giant's ankle breaks in a couple hits, and he himself staggers right after. Dishing out ungodly amounts of physical damage, I get him into phase 2 before he can even realize what just happened to him. Deenh unfortunately dives headfirst into a fire pillar, but I get a riposte on Fire Giant's eye and bring a victory home for the team. Godskin Duo is the only exception I will make with my no consumables rule for my builds. While I technically don't break it since the build is at full combat effectiveness without sleep pots, I still recommend to craft some to sleep the Godskins on any run anyways, since doing this gunfight without sleep is not something any sane person should do. Once both Godskins are asleep, I have plenty of time to cast all of my buffs, and then summon Deenh next to my first target, hoping he won't choose to fly over to the Noble to wake him up. I obliterate the Apostle, then immediately go for Noble before Deenh dives in. I was sadly just one hit off of getting a perfect one cycle, but it's no big deal, and after a dozen seconds, the Noble kindly presents himself to the slaughter. With the Smithing Bell Bearing 4 dropped from the Godskins, we can upgrade our Greataxe all the way to plus 25. I use the remaining runes from the boss to level up Endurance to 29, and finally have enough equip load to wear my full fashion. Feeling good. On the way to Malika's, I kill the lightning spamming dragon to honor the Preceptor Gwyn, then head over to Placidusax. Unfortunately, I forgot to record the fight against the Dragon Lord, so here's a recreation of how it went. Just know that I leveled my strength up to 55 with the runes obtained from him. Malika's really needs more health, he really does. Even without having time to summon Deenh before he rushes to me, he staggers in a few R1s, and a follow-up riposte does so much damage that he starts phase 2 with under 30% HP left. Once he engages me again, 2 CR2s break his poise again, and he dies on the spot. Good night, my boy. Leveling up from 55 to 61 strength, I switch off the Stone Barb tier for Gideon, since he cannot be staggered, in favor of the charge attack tier. Waiting for the right moment of his dialogue where he has hyper armor, I pump 3 charge R2s into him and shatter his bones into pieces. The end of the main story is a couple bosses away, and it's time for the Godfrey showdown. Even if his attack patterns aren't the best, I quickly stagger him, but Deenh decides to push him away, turning my riposte into a mere backstab. Not cool, Deenh. Still, Godfrey goes into phase 2, and while he decimates Deenh with his Earthquake, I take the opportunity to rebuff Cragblade, and my next attack staggers him. Goodbye. Radagon is another fight where I don't have time to cast both Glintblade and Deenh, so I opt for the Warcry this time. Bringing the empty god to his knees, I do so much damage to him that he dies right after his phase 2 transition. No Elden Ring attack today. I use the downtime between the cutscene to rebuff, unfortunately not having time to reapply Cragblade, but it doesn't matter, because while Elden Beast misses his Fire Breath opener, I can unload CR2s into its hips and stagger it. After the shattering riposte, Elden Beast tries to run away, but to no avail. Using the runes from Elden Beast, I can finally reach my desired strength cap of 75 for this build. After reaching 30 endurance, I recommend investing every subsequent level into vigor until you reach 60 at minimum. While the main game is completed, it's time to head for the actual reason we're here, which means going on a winter vacation. For Commander Njal, I opted for using parries, so I purchased the buckler from Ghoststock. Funnily enough though, I did not have enough dexterity to wield it, so Radagon Soreseal came in handy here. Going into the Njal fight, I again did not have time to cast my post-Fogwall buffs, and instead rushed down the double Greatsword Knight to one-shot him with a Charger 2. I then turn to Njal and bait an attack I can parry for almost half his health in one riposte. I also parried a Shield Knight for style points, and felt pretty good about myself, before realizing. Irritated by the hit, I went in to greet other charge attacks only to get hit even more. After he goes into phase 2 however, I finally get the stagger and Njal is off the stage, giving me access to one of the secret Medallion halves. I get the other half from the Albino X village and head for the consecrated snowfield, quickly dispatching the Ordina Everjail. I miss the input for the Grace and follow the Haligtree. I then parkour through the Haligtree town and challenge Loretta. With my full buffs ready and motivational talk from Deenh, I disrespect Loretta by staggering her out of casting her opponent's Glintblades. Deenh wakes her up and gets blasted in return, but we double team Loretta efficiently, and she dies within 30 seconds. You might be wondering why I'm fighting Melina and not Mohg, and it is simply out of curiosity about how well the build will perform against her. The result speaks for itself, as she gets staggered in a few seconds, and the riposte takes out half of her health. She desperately brings down Deenh with Waterfall, but that only serves to anger me, and another stagger after dodging Waterfall sends her into phase 2. The downtime of Scarlet Eonia can be used to rebuff a bit, and as soon as she's done showing off and I can engage a game, I greet her with another stagger. I get a deserved kick to the face in response, but another charger too, and the Goddess of Wrath is no more. At least until DLC.
Your strength. Extraordinary.
And now it's finally time for Mohg, the Lord of Blood. Since this build is meant to grant you easy access to DLC, its performance against Mohg is what matters the most. 1 CR2 after Glintblade's hit and he's down, allowing another 3 CR2 before riposting him. And then... yeah, he kind of just dies on the spot. All he could do was the first opening attack, and he wasn't even close to being ready for any heal. I think that's a wrap. With about 5 hours on the playtime clock, the first Mohg slaying build of this series is now complete. I hope you enjoyed, leave some appreciation if you did, and comment any suggestions to improve the build you might have. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to praise the sun.